All right, welcome into Clyde Talks. Today we're going to kind of deep dive into tariffs, and then specifically with mostly Canada. We'll talk a little bit about China and Mexico. But first, before we get kind of deeper into that, we got to talk about this U.S. congressman who's introducing a bill to stop Trump from invading Canada. Typical fear mongering. But let's jump into that one first, and then we'll get to the tariffs. Here we go.
Border problem, we wouldn't have a tariff problem. By the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, "Rah." Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that looks like that.
Plus Greenland, of course. Plus Greenland.
And then if you add Greenland, that's even. That's pretty
It's
good.
gonna look beautiful.
Okay, there's a new bill in Congress that is hoping to stop Trump from forcibly annexing the countries he has his sights on. Congressman Seth Magaziner put forward the No Invading Allies Act, which aims to ban funding for the armed forces to engage in operations to invade or seize territory from Canada, the Republic of Panama, or the self-governing territory of Greenland without congressional approval. Democratic Representative for Rhode Island, Seth Magaziner, joins me now. Congressman, it's good to meet you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for the invitation.
I have to ask you about your bill. I have to start there, and it feels almost surreal to ask you about the No Invading Allies Act, a piece of legislation to protect Greenland, Panama, and Canada from the United States. Why did you feel the need to do this?
Well, because President Trump has erratically and irresponsibly been talking about seizing territory from allied nations to the United States. Even in his inaugural speech, I was sitting there in the Capitol Rotunda listening to Donald Trump give his speech right after he was inaugurated back in January. And it was a short moment, but there was a line in his speech where he said that the United States would expand our territory. That has not been the goal.
What's the problem with that? We could talk about that later.
Of a United States president in over a century, and it was shocking to hear. So listen, do I think that Donald Trump intends to invade Canada by force? I think probably not. But
I mean, right there, before he gets into this, he immediately concedes the fact that it's not going to happen and that he's just fear-mongering. He's trying to tug at your heartstrings, try to get you afraid so that you'll try to jump in, back their agenda, and defend the waste, fraud, and abuse, the border invasions, the fentanyl coming across the border, and the unfair trade deficits that we have with our partners. We'll get into that more here in a minute, but here we go. Let's keep going.
But we can't take anything for granted. It's insane that we even have to have this conversation, but
It is insane because you're the one creating the conversation. You're making it insane. But anyways.
introduced the bill just to send the message that the American people don't want this. The polling has shown that it is tremendously unpopular
Unpopular with Democrats, yes. Because when Democrats keep saying the American people didn't vote for this, that's a lie. The American people overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, his policies. They voted for a Republican Congress, including the Senate and the House. We knew that he was going to be utilizing Elon. He spoke about Doge. He spoke about all these things on the campaign trail. So yes, the majority of American people voted for this. That's where the mandate comes from, because every county in America shifted right. So yes, we did vote for this. But anyways, go ahead. Another lie.
for the president to be talking about invading or seizing territory from Canada, Greenland, or Panama. It's not what the American people want. But unfortunately,
Another lie. Trump's never said he was going to invade Canada. He never said he was going to invade Greenland. He never said he was going to invade anybody, actually. He's clearly said that he was going to allow Greenland to vote and decide on their own, and we would respect their decision. Plus, again, never said he was going to invade anybody. So, another lie.
we have a leader in Donald Trump who is unhinged and and need.
Unhinged how? I want to see video evidence of him being unhinged, because everything I've seen so far, I mean, with the I'm probably not thousands, but I'm exaggerating, but the amount of interviews he's done daily, it clearly shows that he's putting a lot of thought into what he's doing, and everything he's trying to do is for the betterment of our country. So this unhinged thing, I don't get it. Maybe unhinged by their ideology, but again, Americans did not vote for their ideology. We did for the past 4 years. It didn't work. So now we voted for Trump. We're trying something different. So Democrats kind of need to just, shut up and let us see what happens. It's only been 2 months, but here we go.
Needs to be reined in. Under the United States Constitution, actually Article 1 of our Constitution, it is Congress and not the president who has the authority to declare war. And
Trump has not declared war with anybody, so even discussing this is typical fear-mongering. It's plain and simple. But anyways.
the years, Congress has given presidents a lot of leeway to engage in hostilities for a temporary period of time without specific authorization from Congress. So my bill basically says that Congress needs to reclaim its constitutional authority. We cannot trust Donald Trump.
So his bill basically codifies exactly what we already know in Article 1, which is Congress does have the right to declare war. So all he's doing right here is getting himself on TV and trying to push his ideological agenda and push this Democrat narrative that Trump is unhinged, he's trying to wage war, and that he's trying to seize countries and seize territories, which he has done none of that, actually. So anyways, continue.
With so long a leash.
You know, it's not likely to be a world war, a hot war, a ground war. It can have a military invasion. But the president has spoken quite openly about his desire to use economic coercion, essentially for the annexation of Canada, to absorb our resources, to absorb our land, to absorb our economy. I mean, what goes through your mind when you hear the president of the United States talking about that? And we're now engaged in this race to the bottom trade war that is killing the stock market and jobs on both sides of the border now.
All right, that question's a little bit of a... It's interesting to see how in line the media is with these individuals when they talk about these things. There's no pushback against what he's saying. A true journalist would have said a lot of the things that I'm saying now, but instead of doing that, it's just confirmation bias. And he's going in and asking him scripted questions to push the narrative of whatever they're discussing right now. It's propaganda. It's an easy way to see it. If a reporter is not pushing back in any way and just seems to be leading the individual that they are speaking with or interviewing, it's propaganda.
Yeah, it's tremendously destructive and foolish. Again, it has not been a policy of the United States or of any president to seize territory from our allies for well over a century.
And we're not.
And this is not what the American people voted for.
We did.
Not a campaign issue that arose.
There was talks about it in the campaign.
Seizing territory and seizing resources was not something that...
Right, because he never intended on seizing territory and seizing resources. That was... He's correct there, because that's not what he's doing. So no, he wouldn't talk about that, nor is he planning on doing that. But continue.
The president campaigned on, and it's not what people voted for. As far as this trade war goes, ultimately it's consumers who are paying for it. It's consumers in the United States and in Canada who are paying higher prices, who are being squeezed because of Donald Trump's recklessness, and it's not good for the average working person on either side of the border.
So on Monday, the premier...
No, it's not. I mean, I'll get into this here in a minute, so I don't want to kind of jump across anything, but I mean, we do have a trade deficit, and that trade deficit was set to benefit Canada, not the United States. They're supposed to be our closest ally, yet when I show you some of the tariffs that Canada's had on the United States for quite some time, and I'll show you the reciprocal tariffs that the America had on Canada, which are non-existent basically, there's an obvious trade deficit there. So yeah, well, our president's coming in and defending our country and saying, hey, you're supposed to be our closest ally. Why is there this massive trade deficit. We should be aligned with one another. So he's coming back and he's clapping back and saying, hey, if you're going to continue this practice, we're going to do it to you. We have a much bigger economy. We can absorb you if you fail. So, play this game if you want, but we're going to win.
Of Ontario announced a 25% surcharge on the electricity exports from Canada's largest province to Michigan.
That electricity tariff thing was ridiculous. I mean, we can talk more about that later.
Minnesota, and New York. Donald Trump responded this morning saying steel and aluminum tariffs coming into effect on Wednesday will go to 50% in retaliation to that. Now, late today, the Premier of Ontario is saying he's going to suspend the electricity surcharge, and him and maybe the Finance Minister of Canada are on their way to Washington to meet with Howard Lutnick to try to get some movement.
That's important. So the fact that they came out, they said it, they made the threat, they immediately bounced back from that. Now they're coming to Washington D.C. to meet with Trump and his cabinet. It says a lot. It says that Canada is actually backing down, not America. So even though Canada wants to come out and put out videos acting like they're so strong, sure, I mean, I love Canada. Canada's great. But it's a lie. Anyways.
On this volatility, this on, off. I mean, just what is it doing to the economy and to the stock market? I mean, how long can America endure that without going
Give it more than 2 months and you'll find out.
into a recession, do you think?
Yeah, well, listen, as a member of the United States Congress, I'm never going to advocate for any nation to retaliate against the United States, regardless of the
And exactly why we're in the position that we are, because individuals like that say that.
context. But that being said, Donald Trump never should have gotten us into this trade war to begin with.
No, the Democrats and Republicans and people who came before, the rhinos, everybody else, should have never allowed this to happen to begin with. Trump shouldn't be in this position to have to correct this. So,
Because ultimately, it's only consumers who pay the price. When you talk to businesses, it makes it very difficult for them to plan their capital investments. They are very nervous about the impact on consumer spending.
Again, very misleading. Yes, he's stating the truth. He probably did talk to people who were nervous about this, but who did he talk to? He's not being specific. If he's talking to his Democrat constituents, the people who voted him in, the people that believe in his ideology, then yeah, they probably are nervous because they're being led down this road by these people that are pushing this ideology and pushing this narrative that this is not the way we need to go. We don't need to protect our borders. We don't need to stop illegal immigrants from coming in, terrorists. We don't need to, stop the fentanyl that China's pushing in through Canada and into our borders. So he's not talking to us, Republicans, or people who voted for Trump. And if he is, he's not saying that he is, so he's not identifying who he's speaking with. He's speaking with mostly his constituents that voted for him that are Democrats and probably radical Democrats.
And again, for what? Like, what is the goal here?
To get a balanced trade agreement with our closest ally.
The president has not articulated a clear goal of what he intends to.
He certainly has. He's articulated it daily. What is he talking about? Is he not watching this? I mean, that shows you how uninformed he is in the situation. The fact that he can sit there and say that the president is not informed and has no idea what's going on. And what is he doing? He's doing this willy-nilly. No, he's not. If you listen to him speak, he tells you plainly what he's doing daily.
Accomplish from this trade war. And so, my view is that he's using this to raise revenue off of the backs of consumers, off of the backs of working people, to help pay for his tax
Your view.
cut package, which will mostly benefit the very wealthy.
Another lie. I don't know where this comes from, and I wish that Democrats would come out and back up what they're saying. The tax cuts are not benefiting just the ultra wealthy. If they were, then why did 90% of the billionaires in this country vote Democrat and not with Trump? I mean, that's just the basic logic there. I mean, you got to look at the facts. Most billionaires supported the Democrats because they were getting the best tax cuts from the Democrats. not from the Republicans. The tax bill, which is basically what we are dealing with now, what has been in effect since Trump's first term, and that's due to stop this year, and they're trying to continue it. That tax bill benefits all of us. If that tax bill goes away, all of our taxes go up like 70%. Not the billionaires, everybody's.
It's a cynical and irresponsible way to do it. And the stock market is one thing, but I've got constituents at home in Rhode Island whose electricity bills are going up. The cost of construction is going up. We desperately need more housing in my part of the country.
But he's not telling you when it went up. Everything went up over the past 4 years under Biden. Yes, that's true. But to say that I don't even think it's been 2 months, that Trump's had that much of effect to raise prices that much, to create that much, fear in the market is crazy. Yes, the tariff stuff is making people a little nervous all across the board. Absolutely. It'll get dealt with. You just got to give him some time. Like he said, let it work itself out. But to make false claims like this and to be misleading, well, it's not really false, but it's misleading because he's not talking about what time period he's talking about. He's just making a general statement. Again, it's another way a politician plays with words, but anyways.
It's going to be harder for us to build more housing as a result of these tariffs, and it's bad economics, it's bad foreign policy, and so, again, not what people voted for.
Yes, we did.
We spoke with your colleague Seth Moulton last week on the show, and recently we spoke with your colleague Congressman Bacon from Nebraska. It's not hard to find Democrats who are critical of the president. It's difficult to find people to join Congressman Bacon as a Republican who is willing to be publicly critical of the president. Do you think that...
Because we know what's going on and we voted for it and we're actually in favor of it. That's why. The only reason you're seeing it for the Democrat Party, because all the Democrat Party does right now is oppose, oppose, oppose. It's Orange Man bad, and that's it. It doesn't even matter if he's doing something good, just like he said in his joint address. It doesn't matter what he does. He could cure cancer, and the Democrats still would not support him. So yeah, you can.
There is a moment where Republicans may speak out en masse to try to stop this if they feel enough economic pain as a consequence of either the direct actions of the president or the retaliatory actions by Canada.
Well, I think a lot of them are expressing concerns privately.
Speculation.
But frankly, a lot of my Republican colleagues here in Congress are not living in reality. They think that Donald Trump's actions are popular. They think that it won't be that
because they are popular.
Bad. They, when angry people turn up at their town halls, they convince themselves that they were all somehow paid or coerced to be there, and then they just stop.
Gaslighting again. There's all the information on that'll come out. But yes, they were going into the town halls. It was organized through Act Blue. That information is coming out right now. Act Blue has been a Democrat funding arm to pay for paid protesters and agitators to go into places like town halls and riot and all kinds of things. Anyways, yeah. So gaslight some more. That's what the Democrat Party does. Continue.
Stop having town halls so that they don't have to hear from their constituents anymore. They're going to have their bubble burst in one way or another. Either the economic pain from these tariffs is going to cause them to find some courage, or if not, then the voters will make their opinions known in the next midterms. And my Republican colleagues are going to have to make a decision. Do they want to stand with Donald Trump, or do they want to stand with the people who they were elected to represent?
Yeah, and they have a very narrow majority as it stands right now in the legislative branch. Congressman Seth Magaziner, it was very good to meet you. Thank you for being on the show today, sir. We appreciate your time.
Okay, well, that was brain cells lost. So let's jump in over to the tariffs. So I found this website here that kind of breaks down what the United States is charging Canada, and this looks like it's all as of 2022. So this is a couple years removed, but as of 2022, this is what the United States, tariffs were on Canada. So this is what we were charging Canada. Now, you can go into this tab here, and this kind of breaks it down from the most expensive to the least expensive. So we'll do that. So our highest tariff was on non-cut in pieces frozen at 14.32%. Next is, meat and bovine animals, carcasses and half carcasses frozen. So like, I guess cattle, 9.93%. And you can see as I go down, I know it's kind of small on your end, but I mean, you can kind of see it here. But I mean, all of our tariffs were extremely low. Goes down here, and then we're on like 1.5%. So there. I mean, that's the breakdown, and you can find this on the WITS, the World Integrated Trade Solutions website. And again, it's a few years behind. I haven't been able to find something that's easy to look at and show that has the current tariffs on it, but that's what we're looking at here. Now, let's jump over to Canada. So again, I'm going to go up here. I'm just going to organize it from the highest to lowest. This is from 2022. Their largest tariff as of 2022 is other. I don't know what that means, but it's 183.35%. The next one, cuts in offal, fresh and chilled, 126%. Cuts in offal, frozen, 124.59%. Not cut in pieces, fresh or chilled, 123. I'm taking it this is meat. And it sounds like possibly fish, I don't know. Fowls of the species Gallus domesticus, so some kind of duck, bird, 119%. Cuts and offal, fresh and chilled, 110%, 104%. Look at this, 90, 80, 70, 70, 70, 58. And then we finally get down in like 13. So this is meat. So basically with meats with Canada, they've been charging us 100 plus across the board for a very long time. And then we get into 13s, 8s, 5s, 4s. So it goes down from there, and then we get to 0. Now, when I was looking at the United States versus Canada, I do see that we have a larger line item till we get to 0, but we're standard at 1% or under 1% across the board all the way through. So it takes us a while to get to 0, but again, that was like 1% tariffs. Not a big deal. Canada, obviously it takes a little bit less time to get down to nothing, but you go from 1, 4, into the teens, and then bam, you're into the 60s, 70s, 80s, 100s, almost 200% tariffs. So again, this is as of 2022. So the point that I'm trying to get across here is that there is a clear trade deficit. And if our ultimate goal is to get to equal trade across the board with our closest allies, and then also go after China, who is one of the biggest, I guess, the biggest opponents when it comes to this trade war, and actually get an even trade deficit with all these other countries, is we have to kind of talk to and address our closest neighbors first. So China and Mexico, they're our closest neighbors. And we know that right now we've heard some stuff, and I guess I can find a video, and if not, I can link a video to it, where they were talking about how since there's this trade war with the United States, then they'll just have to kind of pivot over to China, which tells you a lot. Like, why would they want to abandon trade negotiations with their closest neighbor and closest ally, the United States, and then jump right over to China? I think it shows that they are actually more aligned with China than we thought, and I think that's what a lot of this is about. I think that's the underlying issue, is proving that not only China but Mexico have been making lots of deals with China that's pushing China closer and closer and closer to our borders, and then pushing their stuff into our interior, which is causing our own products to kind of go by the wayside, and we're losing money in our own economy. So to battle that, I think he's being smart and strategic, because you can't just go right after China but still allow this stuff to be coming around on your flanks. You have to address your flank first. You have to fix your deals with your closest neighbors, get that resolved, get it out of there, which will start already pushing China back in, and then once you get it away from, your neighbor, then you can go and you can address China directly. So I think this is strategic, and I think it's smart. I don't know. What do you think? Jump in the comments. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what you think. Tell me how you would go about this. Tell me if you support Trump or not. But anyways, jump in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe if you feel the need. But again, Clyde Talks. Thank you.